Are you yourself afraid of death, whether it be that of peers, loved ones, or even yourself?
I'm more so afraid of death for my loved ones and my peers instead of myself because since I grow such an attachment to my family and my friends, when they pass away, it'll be really devastating.
Being the person I am and having the beliefs or lack of structured beliefs that I obtain, to some extent, I am afraid of death and the unknown of it, I guess.
Yes, because it's a very sad thing to lose someone who's close to you.
You know, nobody wants to face that, of course. What I would like to see, my parents are still living. They're in their 80s and they live healthy lives and are very happy. You know, we have a neighbor who's in his 90s, just lost his wife, and I think even with the drugs that are available to prolong life, you're seeing us bring people back from the dead. You have people that have heart attacks. You guys know my sister had a massive heart attack a year ago, and she was coding on the table, and they brought her back. Without technology, without medication, of course we want them back. Am I afraid of death? I think that's really a spiritual question. You know, is it over and done with? And are we okay with that? Or do we believe there's life after death and we can look forward to that? So I think regardless of where you stand, you just have to be at your own personal peace and then know you're not afraid of death. I've lived a full life and it's time to move on to the next thing.
I don't necessarily, fear my own death. I mean, I don't want to die, obviously. I'd love to be around as long as possible, but it's not something that I'm just like petrified of on a daily basis. But especially being a father, the biggest fear would be losing, my kids or having something happen like that. That's definitely, a huge fear that's there. Or obviously my wife or my parents. Death is inevitable. It's going to happen to all of us. And it's going to happen eventually. We hope to prolong it and make it as far in the future as possible. But it's definitely, something that you're always worried about. You want to keep people as safe and as healthy as you can.
I'm not afraid for myself, but I am afraid for my peers and loved ones and anybody else. And the only reason I say that is because I'm a bit of a control freak, and I feel like I feel like I can at least hedge my bets and I live a pretty safe life, but also, if I'm doing something that could end my life a little soon, that would probably be that's my fault, and I take full responsibility for that. But I do. I always fear for my loved ones, not in a debilitating way, but just something that I always want to protect them and keep them safe, and as well as my peers and family and friends. So,
Technology was advanced enough to resurrect the dead. Do you believe that it is morally acceptable and should be allowed?
I don't know if it would be morally acceptable in the medical standpoint because I take health tech and my health teacher, Miss Story, there has been research about a total head transplant taking place, and most of the medical doctors and nurses, they do not agree with the stance because it's trying to fix someone that shouldn't be fixed. But in my opinion, I think that it could be morally acceptable, and if they have enough research, then they could go through with it and let the person be resurrected.
I think that by the ideology that everything happens for a reason, then death is inevitable and should be just accepted. Obviously, for reasons like crime or intelligence, I could see why people would want to resurrect the dead to know exactly what happened or exactly what they knew. But as to whether it is morally acceptable, I would say it's not.
No, because then I feel like it could get out of hand and people who are not so good could get brought back and crazy things could happen.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of thought that goes with that because who can afford to do that? And is the person that's resurrected, is the reason for their death gone? And I just got done talking to another group about our terrible opioid addiction throughout the Midwest especially, but the United States. And honestly, we're doing it already. There's a drug out there called Narcan and someone can actually be dead, not breathing, and we can resurrect them quickly. And there's a lot of debate about that. Is it ethical to bring back someone that's passed? So I can't even imagine if we said, you know, I have a cousin who has ALS at 52 years old, and when he's gone, I'd love to bring him back. He's too young. He's got a lot to live for. We have parents that lose their kids young. Little boy in Freeland just passed away from cancer. You want to bring them back, but you know, is the disease gone? You know, I just think there's an awful lot to be discussed about that.
It's such a tough question, right? Because we fear losing our loved ones. We would do anything, like I would do anything to be able to talk to my grandpa again, you know, talk to loved ones again, especially if you lose somebody in tragedy. But would people appreciate life for what it is if we did that? Would people value life if you could just resurrect or bring somebody back? I think technology is getting to the point where we might be able to store memories and, you know, be able to have conversations with digital or virtual, you know, people in that way to replicate that. But to actually resurrect somebody, I don't think that's right. I don't think we should be able to do that if we could.
No, I think that would be an overreach for technology. I think, you know, the life cycle is a normal process of life, and we're born, we live, everyone passes away. Those are some guarantees in life, and I think it's just the normal process of life.